G'day, bird nerds, plant nerds, gardeners, those who love possums, detest possums. Um, I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. I'm also a horticulturist, which makes me a plant nerd. And I've been out and about during the week, noticing uh, the eucalypts that are just coming into flower around here, and the large Banksias that are in flower, and noticing a lot of courtship displays, pairing. I think pair bonding. A lot of the honey eaters that I'm seeing around here, and it got me thinking. I'm going to go back on a bit of a hobby horse about how everything is developed when we are looking at properties being sold and renovated in the suburbs. And what I want is your thoughts. So it might be a very short show, or it might be a long show, depending uh, on the input we get today. I was watching. It's a bit disjointed, this introduction this morning, but I've been watching some of the home and garden type shows recently. Some old ones and some new ones. Checking out on the watch on demand services. Not only Australian ones, also looking at some British and American ones. And whenever people are doing a reno and they're doing their garden reno, some shows will concentrate on retaining trees, which is, the route I would generally take. But lots of them want to take the trees away. But when they do their new garden plan, they are never, and I think I can say this categorically, they are never putting large trees in, which made me think, and again, I would like your feedback here. Have you had any advice, or do you get suggested when you are going to nurseries or seeking some form of expert advice? Do you ever get recommended large trees? And by large, I really want to talk about maybe, not so much forest giants, but those that maybe 10, 50 meters, 10 to 15 meters and taller. Let me say hello to the live audience. Hello, those of you on X. Hello, Facebook. Where'd you go, you YouTubers? You were here before. And if you're on Instagram, and I might say Instagram, Twitch, and X/Twitter, not Instagram. We're not going to Instagram today. LinkedIn and Twitter. The best way for you to participate is to jump onto Facebook or YouTube. thebirdemergency.com/YouTube or thebirdemergency.com/Facebook. Because then I can get your comments and share them and respond easily. Some platforms don't share the comments as readily as others. That is why I say that. So I've got to talk from a perspective of where I am, which is in Melbourne, in Victoria, in Australia. And it feels like the last 15 or 20 years, we have a lot of these storm events and trees falling onto houses, falling onto carports, falling onto cars, bough shedding with many trees. And it's after those events happen, I always see in the neighbourhood and catching the bus around, or if you're on the train and looking in, seeing what's happening as you're going through different neighbourhoods, lots of large trees then get felled. People are removing large trees because they see them as a risk. And I don't want to, I'm not going to try and say there is no risk. But are people doing that? And if you are creating a garden, I want your thoughts on this. Does the potentiality of risk mean that you are just taking away large trees from your decision making? And if that's common in your neighbourhood, are we conscious of the way we are changing the built environment and how we are altering it for some of the creatures that we presumably want to be around us? So that's what I want. I want your thoughts. So I'm going to take this this one down so it comes off me. So there's your challenge. And if you're new, if you haven't been in one of the live streams before, just pop into the comments and let us know where you are from, so that I can try and tilt my response to you to your location. If you're in the Sydney region, I hope you are safe and well and dry. I haven't caught up with the news today. I hope there hasn't been any flooding events in the Warren-Gamba Dam catchment. It's a pretty glorious winter here in Melbourne, the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri people. It's one of the, late autumn and early winter can be marvellous here. All right. I'm just waiting for some input. So it might be a very, very short show. I've got to say, the ironbarks around here are in flower. There is a fantastic, now ironbark eucalyptus sideroxylon. I'm not sure if they're Corymbia nowadays. I think they're still eucalyptus sideroxylon. There are some fantastic eucalyptus leucoxylon subspecies macrocarpa in flower down around the town centre where I am. Oh, Facebook love. Hello, Naomi. How are you? And the flowers, even though that's probably what I would call a small tree, sort of 5 metres tall, the specimen I'm talking about, really intense crimson flowers rather than the soft pink, red flowers that species generally shows off. Banksia integrifolia, the coast banksia nearby, is in flower. Hakea lorena, which can be pruned to be a tree if that is what you want, but generally I would call that a large shrub. They're in flower around here at the moment, along with Hakea suaviolens, and I think it's Hakea decurrens, I think is the other one. So there's quite a bit of nectar about for the birds. Also, there are second flushes of flowering for I'm seeing spotted gums, lemon scented gums. They're both Corymbias, Corymbia maculata, Corymbia citriodora, in flower at the moment too. There's casuarinas and allocasuarinas too that are flowering around the place. Now, obviously not for nectar feeding birds, those ones, but there are insects utilising those plants, and of course they'll be setting seeds with their she oak cones, which will be food for the cockatoos soon. But let's go back to my question. Are you reticent to plant large trees? And I think I said large trees was 10 to 15 metres tall. That's what we're going to discuss today. So, how long, how far we go is up to you. Hello. Oh, hello YouTube. Hello Facebook. Hello Twitter/X. Again, I have to say Twitter/X's. If you want to share your thoughts, I have got my phone on with the Twitter X here. So if you tag me on Twitter @BirdEmergency, I will be able to see your comment, but it will be more difficult for me to share it. The best thing to do is go to thebirdemergency.com/YouTube or thebirdemergency.com/Facebook. Okay, Naomi, thank you. Not reticent at all. Great. So Naomi, you haven't bought into the concerns that large trees are a risk, and in storms they might destroy your house or your car or your fence or whatnot. So I want to get a sense of that, because I'm not downplaying that there is a risk if you plant large trees in your garden. But then it comes down to plant selection, and it also comes down to cultivation. Naomi says, a risk I'm willing to take. That's great. One of the problems that I find in a lot of the instances that I see of garden renovations and, excavations for extensions and things in houses, they often take place without an understanding of what they are doing to the trees that are around them. So if you excavate 50% of the root zone of the water uptake and nutrient uptake of an existing large tree, that large tree is going to suffer, and it may die and it may fall down, but it won't happen next week. It may take 10 or 15 years to happen. And by then you'll have forgotten that you excavated a whole heap of your backyard to put in your lap pool or your new paved area or your man cave down to the back of the garden, or whatever the case may be. I wonder, Naomi, you can probably tell me this and let me see where everyone is from again. We've got more YouTubers. Hello, YouTube. Give me an idea if that's something that you've considered when you have done any works in your garden, maybe an extension, or maybe if you bought a new place and you decide straight away we're going to add some extra rooms on, or whatever, or even if it's just widening your driveway, putting in a retaining wall, is something that crops up, and in your discussions with your landscaper, and I say landscaper in inverted commas, because a lot of people who are doing landscaping work like retaining walls and pavings have very little idea about the cultivation of plants. And I'm being quite general, but I have a very specific meaning. I'm not talking about people who can go down to the plant multi-market and go and select 20 varieties of plants to make a nice border and get you some flowers and a nice hedge or screen. I'm talking about understanding what they are doing when they're digging their drainage channels, or their trenching, their paving, when they are more concerned about getting surface water away from your place and into the sewer, rather than thinking about some way that it can be captured and then put maybe back in, utilised back into the garden. Making sure that plants still have sufficient root zones to support the canopies that are already there. So, does anyone want to tell me their thoughts? Naomi, of course, has volunteered that she is not reticent to put in large trees, and has a risk they're willing to take. Now, of course, anybody who is, we've got to frame the discussion. If you're like me and you're just living in a unit, you're not putting large trees in, right? I watch with some interest what's happening in my local neighbourhood, and also what the council is doing and what the maintenance people are doing along the major arterial roads. Looking at all the plantings, the new plantings that are happening, and when I walk around and have a look, I don't see many large trees going in to any of these mixed plantings. Is it just a localised thing? I don't know. I was trying to inform my general comments by looking at what the mass consumption television programs are showing, and hardly ever, except on rural properties, do we see people recommending large trees. Has anyone got an insurance quote recently? Are there questions about large trees, overhanging trees? I don't know. Tell me. So, there we are. I'm going to put some music on while we're waiting, because I have a feeling that we're not going to get lots and lots of comments. Maybe people will just wanting for me to today recommend. That's probably a bit loud, isn't it? Let's turn that one down. There we are. I feel like I'm in some late night lounge after a very hearty meal. Cocky says hello too, by the way. So, Naomi, oh, here we go. Comment. Stan on Kangaroo Island. Good morning, Stan. How are you? Stan lives on half an acre and have 5 huge gum trees and a massive mallee. I enjoy them very much, as do the birds and koala, but they make growing anything else difficult. Yeah. Yes, because of the amount of water that they would be taking out and the nutrients that they would be removing. But there's strategies to deal with that. Like, you can build raised beds and plant above the main root zone, and things like subsurface irrigation that targets particular plants, like a dripper on new plants that you put in, can overcome those kind of issues. So there's usually a strategy for that. Shade is an issue, but again, plant selection can get you over that. Especially, Stan, some of those correas that I was mentioning was that last week's episode? Yeah. But I'm glad, Stan, half an acre, having 5 huge gums and a massive mallee, and of course you're in a well, a semi-arid and coastal environment. I think you've got quite limey kind of soils too, don't you, Stan? Which would be alkaline, sort of alkaline soils. So you need to be thinking about plants that are adapted for specifically for Kangaroo Island and that southeast and South Australia, and across probably you'd probably find a lot of those nullarbor mallees would be great. Yeah, here we go. Stan says, we've got wicking beds for my veggies. Yep, which works well, but most of our fruit trees died. And yeah, limestone soil. Now, fruit trees dying. Stan, let's explore that, because did you have fruit trees in your wicking beds? Because I would be saying if you had fruit trees in your wicking beds, that's probably why they died. But let's explore that and see whether we can come up with some suggestions for that. Depending on the fruit trees that you want to grow, different strategies for different types. So we can go down that rabbit hole if you like. Also, limestone soil, and which is generally alkaline, which is generally on the pH scale above 7, which is neutral. Most of the common fruit trees that people want to grow, like apricots and plums and peaches and pears and apples, they want an acidic soil. So again, the raised bed strategy or even large container strategy is often the way you can overcome that. Also, is your water, not your rainfall, but if you have any artesian water, or if you're using any artesian water, or if your town water is slightly alkaline or, mineral heavy, that can be a reason that your fruit trees, especially if they're in the prunus kind of trees, will be carking it, for want of a better term. So we can explore that if you would like, Stan. Stan, do you know what your 5 huge gum trees are? Do you know what varieties or what species you've got there? Can anyone hear Loz? He's just had a bath and he gets very excited now with his bath. He's now I've now got him a little bath that he can do it in his palatial accommodation, and he loves that. So yes. If you're new to the show, Loz is a rainbow lorikeet who adopted me in while we were doing a live show on New Year's Eve, wasn't it? So that would be great. Okay, I am just checking. I'm not seeing any Twitter mentions. Just checking. No. Okay. So if you're on Twitter and you would like to make a comment, just mention @BirdEmergency on Twitter. All right, so Stan's just given us some more information about his fruit trees. So they were in the soil. Peaches, cherry, and apricots all have very similar requirements. Fig, a bit different. I'm surprised your fig died. But the alkaline soil could have something to do with that. So I would be mounding. Next time you have a go, I would be mounding. I would be building a mound with, like, planting compost or something, um, building up quite a large mound, planting into that, and then mulching with. Loath to recommend something like Weed Map, but if you can get anything that can hold the mound together and then mulch with straw and things like that, that's going to be your best option. And that way, they're above the root zone of the eucalypts. You could put something like a barrier, a weed mat or something below the mound, so that you're not going to get eucalypt roots coming up. But that would be the best way. And if you're in a situation like Stan is, here's a good tip. If you're in a situation like Stan where you know that your soil is based on limestone, if you have a lot of limestone in the area, or if your water is limey, alkaline, in some way, just periodically do a pH test. So you can go and buy a pH kit at your local nursery or at the Bunnings, and just test and see what your pH is. Because when your pH moves too far one way or the other from neutral, it influences nutrient uptake, the availability of some nutrients to the roots of your plant. So it's always a really good diagnostic tool when you're starting with problems, is what is the pH of your soil in the areas where you've had problem. Apricots are difficult because they often get a disease called gummosis, which is quite peculiar to apricots, and it generally comes after pruning. And peaches, cherries also have various disease or pest problems, but they can generally fight through it if they're healthy enough. They might look a little bit ratty, like your leaves might have the shot holes. But you want to watch for overwatering, obviously underwatering, and there can be real problems with nutrient availability if your pH is not right. So I hope that's given you some things to look out for, Stan. Very nerdy gardener talk there. Which ironbark have you got, Stan? I'm interested to know. Have you got the really black ironbark? And when they flower, are they pink? Are they yellow? Are they red? Are they pale yellow / white? Be very interested in that. Naomi, your mum lives in a place where lots of established gardens would have big trees. Does your mum's place have some really big trees? And also, Naomi, what are your big trees? And how's your climate doing? That one that we had to work out what it was. How's that going at your place? Excuse me. Okay, just waiting for more input. Okay, so Stan, thanks for that. Now, Stan, if you do your test, feel free to email me and tell me what's what, and include some photos or anything. I might. Okay, the really rough. Stan's got the really dark, rough bark, so that sounds like Eucalyptus sideroxylon with the pink flowers. And are the leaves sort of bluish grey rather than sort of your standard green Stan. So yeah, so they sort of appear bluey grey if you've got a group of them. Yeah. Some of the diagnostic things too, when you've got issues with plants dying, is where are they dying from? And what are the characteristics of the dying? Like sometimes you'll notice that the leaves start to yellow, and you can see the yellowing, and then they get veiny, and that's one clue. But if they're browning off from the tips of the leaves and dying from the tip back, but it's a brown, that can be a sign of overwatering. There can be thanks, Stan. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I've picked your eucalypt, which is the classic ironbark. Yeah. So when you are talking to someone about the problem with your plant dying, I'll tell you what used to happen to me in the nursery all the time. Someone would come in and bring me a dead branch. And I'd say, that's great. You know, I can tell it was a fruit tree once. I can tell it used to be either a plum or a peach or a cherry or something. And they'll bring it in, and it's been dead for 2 or 3 months, and they'll say, why did it die? And I'll say, hey, can you bring me in the leaves when it starts to look crook? Take a photo. Nowadays with the phone, take a photo. Take a photo of everything that you can think of, because that gives a horticulturist who's experienced in different diseases a chance to either recognise it or to then go and consult some references with any ideas that they may have. So help the helpers when you are doing that. Yeah. So there we are, Stan. If you would like to, hunt down a pH test kit and do your test from all the spots where you're having problems, we can maybe come up with some solutions. But mounding is definitely the way to go. Yeah, I'll tell you what's really good for fruit trees: old water tanks. If you and baths, a whole heap of stuff like that. You can get a good crop from a stone fruit from something like a half wine barrel. An old bath is perfect. Bearing in mind that they are less sturdy if they're in something like a bath, susceptible to things like overheating and all that kind of stuff. So you have to manage other problems. But there are all sorts of creative ways that you can grow plants that don't really appreciate your native soil conditions. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Comments or questions, folks? I'm just checking. I'm not seeing any Twitters. Just checking. Sorry for the dead air, folks. I am just checking. Oh, now tomorrow we're going to do a watch together of the Giants film, which is the Bob Brown Foundation produced film that is available on YouTube. I just want to check if it's also not on YouTube, on Netflix. I just want to see if it is available on YouTube or on the website for the Giants. Oh, it looks like it is. Watch the film. Let me just check. Oh no, we have to watch it on. Oh, it is on YouTube. Let's have a look. Maybe we can watch it. Oh, it's buy or rent. So I think what we'll do is the initial idea that I had was that you can all watch it on Netflix if you have it, and we will watch it together. So I don't know. I'll start the stream probably around 1 o'clock, 12 or 1 tomorrow. But make sure you're subscribed or following to do that. Just checking. I'm still not seeing anything coming through, but I am seeing some interesting things on Twitter. Gee, what a surprise. I'm just saying that the Conservatives because there's an election being called for Britain, just saying that the Conservatives aren't interested in advancing any action to secure urgent vital nesting habitat for the migratory swifts. What a surprise. I'm not surprised that that the Conservatives have gone back on what they said they might do. All right, folks. More people have jumped in. More on Facebook. Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. And Twitter/X. Don't know what's happening with the Twitches. The Twitches have eased off. I might have to do a bit of work on that. I might. I don't want to recommend any plants today. I really want to just focus on this issue. I'm glad that nobody has said they have an issue with large trees in their garden. I mean, we've covered off a bit of the limitations. If you need a large block and stand on half an acre is, that's 2 of the traditional blocks. They're actually a bit larger than 2 of the traditional blocks. You're probably on about 3 of the traditional housing blocks, I would say, for half an acre. So that gives you the opportunity to have a really, mighty garden, including, as you've got your wicking beds for your veggie garden, and some really significant, sort of mixed plantings, mixed beds that can become really valuable habitat, especially for small birds. So many small birds need big trees too. Just think of so many of the small honeyeaters, the white-naped honeyeater, the brown-headed honeyeater, the strong-billed honeyeater, that group. The pardalotes generally need big trees. Several of the thornbills, weebills, like big trees. They can be adapted to uh, to be quite happy in medium trees, small trees, and large shrubs. But you will usually find them on working the edges of canopies, and there's a lot of surface area in a big tree. So, all right. Well, now we can be open to any sort of garden question or comment. Anything interesting that you've seen? What's in flower at your place? What's coming up in flower around your area? Have you seen anything that's really striking that you thought, gee, what's that? There's quite a lot of strelitzias, which are the bird of paradise flower, which is the tufting South African plant with the striking orange flowers with the blue stamen, I think, or is it an anther? Anyway, I'm sure you're familiar with the bird of paradise plant. There's some in my street, big ones that are in flower now, and another one around the corner in a garden which has a large Banksia integrifolia, which is in flower and the birds love. And on the footpath just outside of that garden, there is a Hakea laurina in flower at the moment, and then they have a bird of paradise strelitzia in flower, and it's large. And they are right next to one of the major arterial roads in my area, and they have Carimbia or eucalyptus, Carimbia maculata, and Citriodora, lemon-scented gums, spotted gums in flower along there at the moment too. So it's a madhouse for wattlebirds and New Holland honeyeaters and white-plumed honeyeaters, noisy miners, little wattlebirds, red wattlebirds, rainbow lorikeets, quite a few musk lorikeets around in the region too. So it's quite a good time for birds, even though it's winter. So great stuff. All right, folks. I'm just waiting now for your input. We'll stick around for another minute or two. I might change the song. What do you reckon? I might change the song. I don't know all these new songs. I've got some new songs from Creator Music. Thank you, Dee and Nick Nimmin, the brothers who created the Creator Music, which are the last two tracks I've played. They can probably be a little bit louder now, can't it? There we are. So thanks, yeah. Always appreciative of people who are creating things that other people can use to do things like these live streams. Does anyone have a preference? Are you intending to join me for the Giants? Watching along with the Giants tomorrow? Do you have a preference? Australian Eastern Standard Time, midday, or 1 p.m. or later? I mean, if I get started early enough tomorrow, I might. We might do quite a long stream. I might. Yeah. We might start it all off on all the platforms and then drop it off. Say if you want to keep watching, get onto YouTube or get onto Facebook. I'll think about that. Anyone got any other thoughts? Well, I've got my horticulture hat on. before I go and play with a attention-starved lorikeet. Have you seen anything good in the news? Good from a environment / conservation perspective? I didn't go to any nurseries this week, so I can't really talk about that. But I've really enjoyed seeing the amount of hakeas that are in flower. Again, limited to only 2 or 3 species around here. Oh, and some nice Banksias too in flower. And what else have I seen? No, that's really about it. Oh, the Corellas have returned, so they're starting to turn up in the park, and they're eating the roots of the onion weed. I'm guessing most of it is that, and maybe some of the kikuyu and the couch grass as well. But yeah, the group of Corellas, and there's nowhere near as many these days because I'm not feeding them like I was in the pandemic. But they've got a regular circuit that they do. All right. Well, I reckon we're at the end zone. We'll just hang on for just a minute more, see if anyone wants to jump in. We might test tomorrow, if you're around. We might test tomorrow doing questions and these discussions on Skype and Discord, so that I can actually easily bring you in. Put your hands up. Does anyone still use Skype? Anyway, well, we might just try that out, because that would be an easy way to bring you in without having to jump into the studio. Yeah, we'll try it out. So I reckon it'd be more fun if we could get you in and maybe could show photos and things. So I think I'd like to broaden it out. And I'm always open to suggestions. If this is not the best time, suggest a better time, and maybe we'll do this more than once a week. I don't know, I'm old, I've got the grey hair going now. One of the highlights of my week used to be listening to the gardening show in Gippsland, and also in Melbourne, and also when I was in Brisbane. The gardening shows that they had on the radio talkback, always enjoyed that. And I was addicted to them even before I was went and learned to be a horticulturist. So love to be able to do that and solve some problems. All right, folks. Well, Naomi, thank you very much for the Facebook love. I hope you're going to enjoy your Saturday. Naomi, how wet is it at your place? Stan, did you get the rain that we're expecting in Melbourne, I think, in the next day or two? I know weather is not always the most interesting thing to talk about, but in a country as big as Australia, very, very different conditions that we're all experiencing. It has just clouded over here, so it does look a little bit gloomy here, but seeing the dams spilling in Sydney and seeing the amount of rain that had hit Sydney would make it very difficult to do much gardening today. So, all right, I'm going to drop the music off. Drop the music off. I think there's a rock track. I think there's a rock track here. See, there's a track here called Get Back. Let's just give that a go. I know it's not the Beatles' Get Back because it is from Creator Music. I know it's very techno thing, isn't it? Get my glow sticks out. Stan's telling me no rain forecast, so it's very dry. Stan, have you got some Coria alba growing at your place? I reckon you'd get, and I think it's Coria Lawrenceana. Would be good at your place. Oh yeah, this is very chill music, isn't it? Well, thanks to the creative music duo, the Niman brothers, who do their live streaming from Thailand, but they're all American boys. No. All right. I know there's a rock one. I might try this one. What's this one? Yeah, there we are. We'll just headbang and see if anyone's got any more questions. Doesn't really fit with my with the whole gardening thing, does it? I think we'll go back to this. There we are. Get a bit more chill and a bit more peaceful. Next week I'm going to start on my installments. I teased a few weeks ago that I was going to do a top 100. And I am going to do a top 100, but I'm going to do it in installments. And I'm just working out whether to do it like a countdown or whether I just randomly select 10 or 15 or 20 maybe 20 each week for a while, and we'll run that alongside an issue and Q&A, and by then I'll hopefully been able to test out the idea of either Skype. Does anyone use Skype? That's what I want to know. And you tell me if you're listening on Twitter, or if you're on the Twitter, because I know a bunch of you are. Does anyone still use Skype? Oh, here's news. Oh, it's yesterday's news, but it's only just popped up. New York City Audubon, so the Audubon Society, is now to become the New York City Bird Alliance. Oh, that will be why I had a whole heap of emails saying Bird Alliance, and I haven't opened them up yet. So that's good news along the theme of the bird names for birds, but taking away some of the honorifics for people that probably in this day and age we wouldn't be using an honorific. So that's interesting. Judy Leach on Twitter, just been at Lake Air. Katitata. Well, that's interesting. Oh, Leo, very nice. Getting the spotted crate. Okay. No, I don't want to get distracted on Twitter, do I? I try and stay off it on a Saturday morning because I get... oh, yes. Anyone been to the 12 Apostles and you have enjoyed the amazing scenery? The Victorian Labor government has just approved a gas project near the 12 Apostles. Bloody. Really is poor, isn't it? Really is poor. I don't know what to say about this. I mean, it's like you just get so grumpy. Well, really enjoying seeing you and Richie and Maggie Watson's Japan posts. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Sorry for all the dead air today, folks. I was just checking. Just checking. No one's talking to me on Twitter, which I guess means all you twits or X's or what? What's the right word nowadays for the collective noun of people using X? I've got anything to ask or comment? All right, well, that's enough. That's enough for Saturday morning. Enjoy yourself if you're out checking out the garden centre or the big green box store. I ordered some seeds, so I'll talk about that when they arrive and can show you. We might do merch designs too tomorrow on the Bird Emergency, either before or after we watch the Giants. That might be good. True to my word, I have not watched the Giants in advance, so I will be as surprised as you. It is on Netflix. If you have Netflix, you can watch along. Be midday-ish or 1 p.m.-ish by the time we get around to it. Of course, if you're subscribed or following, you'll get the notification. But just be ready for that. And just letting you know, Stan, if you want to do a pH test and talk to me about your particular situation, let's do it. I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd, also a plant nerd. I'm one of those Burnley horticultural types. Whatever that says. Just seeing, I just got a notification, but it wasn't about this, so that fantastic. See you next Saturday morning for Habitat Gardening, 9:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And if you're interested in watching along tomorrow, we'll watch The Giants, the Bob Brown Foundation film about Tasmanian wilderness and trees and conservation and issues. We'll be doing that tomorrow. Hope you join me then. See you bird nerds, see you plant nerds. Don't forget, like, follow, subscribe, share, all that stuff. And you're always welcome to reach out to me via the comments if you have any planty, horticulturally kind of issues, or you're looking for a suggestion, and we can take it from there. Oh, no, I won't even tell you. I'm not going to promise something's going to get finished by tomorrow, but there could be something that I can share tomorrow as well that might be fun. Okay. Toodle pip. Is that right? Toodle pip. Uru. Ciao. See ya.